Hey, it's Aaron, Metal Theologian here. So, sort of what sort of stuff I've been listening to kind of video coming up today. What's spinning, if you will. I actually kind of hate that expression. I use it all the time in video titles, but it's because it was already sort of established before I ever did it. You know what I mean? People talk about, what's spinning, and they'd have like whatever there was, sort of the catch-all title. But I never sit down and say, yeah, I'm going to spin a few records now. I kind of hate that. That just kind of makes me cringe. I don't know, man. It seems lame. So I'm going to listen to some records. I'm going to play some records. And, I'm not casting any shade if you use that term. It's just one that I've never cared for. So it feels a little ironic every time I put it in a title. But what can I say? That's just kind of how I roll. So one thing I do want to talk about this time is sometimes I get suggestions from people just in the comment section. A lot of times we'll talk about, someone I know who has a channel talked about this record. I got a couple of those today too, actually. But yes, I kind of specifically want to highlight a couple that have come up in the comments, and I can never remember who suggested this, so I apologize. But just I want it to be known that if you say, "Hey, check this out," there's a decent chance I actually will if I don't already know it. And if I give you sort of a non-answer, it could mean that I've listened to it before and I think it sucks and I'm just trying to be nice about it. But generally, I'll give it a chance at least. And sometimes, too, I'll say I'm going to go give something another chance because of the comments and, Anyway, this one I'd sort of heard of before when someone suggested it, but I was talking about some Russian stuff recently. And someone said you check out the Alexander Nevsky record, which is this 7-inch right here. It actually plays a 33. It's pretty long for a 45. It's like 7 minutes on each side or something like that. 3 songs total. But, it was already on my radar. I mean, if you watch the channel, I probably don't have to tell you that this cover is going to be something I'm interested in, right? And I'd heard it was good, but someone came in and hyped it. I was like, hey, man, if you like this shit, you really need to check out Alexander Nevsky. So I was like, what the hell, man? I just sold a bunch of shit. We're going to give it a crack here. Because this fucking guy is beckoning me. I mean, let's be honest. And holding a candle on your record cover... Let's get to it. Listen how good this is, man. Like, the songs have a lot of different parts. There's kind of a lot going on. It's not really proggy in the sense of, like, long solos or, sort of... I don't want to say jarring time changes, because I always think of Merciful Fate, and I wouldn't say they were, call that shit jarring, per se. But, just like a lot of riffs per song. I mean, I guess sort of like Diamond Head that way, or something like that. But they don't sound like Diamond Head at all, Anyway, there's actually a Melodia. I'll show the label in a minute when I'm swapping it out. But the back is kind of plain here. And it's funny, it's gotten a lot harder to get this Russian shit since that, Ukraine business started. But this came from a seller in Latvia. No, wait a minute. This one came from Lithuania. I got a different one from Latvia. Recently. I don't know. Touring the Baltics, I guess. Touring the Baltics with the Metal Theologian. That'll be a video title. But, yeah, 3 songs on it, man, and they're all really good. There's actually one little thing on the other side. The song, like, totally reminded me of something. I just want to call it out because it's kind of fun to do this. There's the Melodia label. Let's check this out. The funny thing is this reminded me of something every time I listen to it. I can't remember what it was now, but I will as soon as I play it because it was consistent. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, a really cool band, Alexander Nevsky. I think they might have put out a full length on tape at some point, but to my knowledge, this is the only vinyl output they ever had. And I love this fucking record. It's really good. Oh, there we go. It's Revelation Mother Earth. You hear that shit? That's totally Revelation Mother Earth. By Ozzy Osbourne, if you're new. I mean, it's not identical. You know what I mean? If they're going to appropriate it, they did a pretty fucking good job appropriating it, I think, because they sort of captured the spirit in that, and still sort of turned it into their own thing. You know, I mean, when it sort of builds up the rock, like right here, and that it doesn't sound so much like it. But in that intro, man, totally. You gotta love the tip of the hat to Ozzy Osbourne, even in Ozzy even in something that seems as far away as a fucking band called Alexander Nevsky. See, it's sort of drifting away, like it develops it in a completely different way. So it's really not just like a steal. So, yeah. So here's another one that someone in the comments suggested. A few videos ago, I talked about a band called Emmy Strut, who, if I'm not mistaken, was from Iowa. But someone from Iowa came into the comments section and said, hey, here are a couple other bands. There's this one that I really liked. And then there was this other one that was kind of more popular, but a lot more commercial. And I sampled them. I wish I could remember what they were called, because I can't. But the other one, the one that he said was better, was this band called Hyper. And the record's called Active. And as it turns out, I managed to find a copy relatively quickly. I think the stars were just aligned properly. Because this thing is so obscure, there isn't even a listing on Discogs that I could find. So anyway, yeah, it totally has that private press, like, look and feel, right? That thick cardboard, you see that shit? Look at that. We're going to fire it up for a minute. I'll show you the label, too. It's not super heavy, and it's not the greatest thing ever. But it's a pretty enjoyable record, and it's actually gone really well for the sort of mood I've been in, because I've been sort of in the space where I don't want to hear the same old stuff that I've listened to all the time. But I also haven't been in the mood for anything particularly fast or anything. And frankly, I generally find I have an easier time coming across... if I just want to hear something new, and I'm in a thrash headspace, for instance... I mean, death metal's easy, you know? But thrash metal, there was a lot of shit. Like, there was that whole big glut of thrash at the end of the 80s into the early 90s and shit. And as much as that shit as I have already, I can still find lots more that, you know, some specific record by a band that I never got around to, or this one band that I kind of overlooked, or just some fucking band I never heard of before. And that hasn't really been what I've been in the mood for. So this is a little bit on the lighter side, but I'm actually pretty okay with that. So this is Hyper with their album Active. And I'll laugh if this gets an ad put on the video, because simply has kind of more of a hard rock sensibility than really a full-on metal one. But it has a little bit of that sort of party metal spirit without giving itself over to it so completely that it becomes silly. And it really isn't glammy at all. You know, maybe like just a tiny bit here and there, you know? And it's funny because it's one of the things I sort of noticed. If it's a little bit AOR-y, I can sort of handle it. But if it's overly glammy, I might get a little sick of that. Although I have a few words to say about Glam, too. They definitely owe a fair bit to their 70s predecessors, you know? When did this come out? I want to say it was like 85 or something. Yeah, I don't see. They're from Clinton, Iowa, though. That's funny. I'll get so much more excited about a band from Iowa than a band from LA, you know? Yeah, 1985, it says on the label. Yeah. It's kind of safe, you know? But it's a fun record, man. I've been playing this kind of a lot lately. I thought about doing a feature on Iowa metal, actually, but I didn't really have enough. I just talked about Emmy Strut the other day, and then the other one I'm going to show here. Actually, fuck it, this is the other one. This has been a long time. This is one that Chromie D talked about more than once. This is actually sort of the Chromie D section of the video coming up here. But I finally got my hands on a copy of the Litterer record. And the way they're dressed actually represents the record pretty well, because it has some glam moves, right? I mean, Romancing the Night is a song on here, or Rock On Through the Night, Broken Hearts, shit like that. Rock This City is also the title track. There's a little bit of that, but this thing isn't so like glammy and sleazy that you just sort of like hear the cocaine coming out of it, you know what I mean? It's more sort of like not that heavy, fair bit of keys, but pretty good songs overall, man. It's a little bit of it's a little bit of a creep of a record in that I didn't mind it the first time I played it, but the more I play it, the more I kind of like it, you know? And they're called fucking Litterer. What a ridiculous name, you know? This is 87 from Charles City, Iowa. And, yeah, I mean, if you're in the mood for a Slayer record, stay the hell away from this thing, because it's not going to scratch the itch. But if you were wishing that the Crew had made a third record that was as good as those first two, this one isn't bad at all. It's way fucking better than Theater of Pain. Maybe it's not as good as Shout at the Devil either, but it's way better than Theater of Pain, you know what I mean? And it just isn't so, lost in its own ego that it gets in the way of the songs, which are pretty decent songs, and the performances are good, and it's a really enjoyable record, man. So another one that's definitely not the greatest thing ever, but one that I kind of enjoy. This is another Chromie D one. I actually just recently got this because I've never had this record before, and that is fucking Only the Strong by Thor, which is probably the best record cover he ever did as far as looking promising, but it's not necessarily better than the first one where he has the dogs on the chain, because that one's actually funnier. You know, this one isn't as funny as that. The back cover photo is pretty fucking good too. Yeah, anyway, I always thought Thor was kind of a cornball, and I mean, he is, right? And the gimmick is definitely front and center. But the songs on this really kind of deliver regardless, you know what I mean? If you'd played this for me, I didn't know it was Thor, I'd have been like, whoa, that's really pretty fucking good, you know? It's pretty, it's chunky and sort of fat and not really epic, but it sort of takes a couple steps in that direction as far as its intent, you know what I mean? It doesn't have the songwriting to really sort of sound, you know, at the level of grandiosity of like a Manowar or something like that, right? But there's still some meat in this thing, you know? It's probably maybe closer to like a Heavy Load or something like that even. Although Heavy Load's probably better than this. Anyway, I like this record a lot more than I expected to, and I've kind of got to tip my hat a little bit to Thor because I underestimated the fucking guy. So there we go. It's a much better record than I thought he was capable of producing, honestly. That's not the only one I have, that first one. I have one or two others. I have that one on Mongol Horde. It's not terrible, but it's not great. And then I have that one I was trying to sell during the sale. I don't even remember what that one sounds like. So anyway, shout out to Chromie D for helping me get over myself and give that record a chance, because it's really pretty goddamn good. This is a good example of one that I've actually had this for a long time. It's one that's not very heavy, but the songs are just really good, man. Nothing to Do But Rock by Hammer On. These guys are from Chicago, and it might not be the worst idea to look for a reissue on this one, because it's been done, and anything on Silverfin is going to take you a while to turn up. Actually, a little bit of VC lore for like people who've been watching, have been watching it for around the time when I started my channel. So probably about 10 years ago now, maybe a little less than 10 years. Some might have already started, but within 10 years, give or take a year, there was someone in the community who actually turned up a copy of this and didn't know what it was, basically, and ended up gifting it to someone else in a VCLT package. I think he had a contest, and like the guy won the contest, but like the guy who won it didn't know it either. So I was watching these videos going, Jesus Christ! And like, yeah, there's just sort of like, yeah, what the fuck is this? You know, Hammer On. I mean, it's a stupid name, and it's not a very good cover, you know. But, yeah, it rocks though, man. It has some cheese on here, man. Like, Jealousy is kind of a lame song. And Why Lie definitely turns up the corn factor. But Sands of Fire is almost a little bit epic. Almost. Very qualified, almost. And the song that I get in my head that leads me to put this record on is usually Silent Victim. Nothing to Do But Rock, the title track, is great too. Endless Nights is kind of corny, but it's a really good song too. And there are only 8 songs on here, man. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Yeah, and it's really good. So let's see, I don't want to lose track of what I've been talking about here. Okay, so speaking of Glam, this is a record that's blowing my mind a little bit. This is the next one we're going to listen to a little bit, okay? This is Joker. And among Russian bands, I love that in Russian you still need 2 letters to make a J sound. Not a very common sound in languages around the world. They have one in Turkish. Anyway, this record doesn't have the best reputation when people collect the Russian shit. I actually think that this is a, and I'm not sure if it was mean to be or not. I think this is almost an example of a record that's written glam but played heavy, okay? Like the guy has, the guy's singing style would not at all be out of place in a total glam band. I mean, it'd be more with a good glam band than like a really sort of, saccharine one. Because he's got a lot of gravel in there, and he definitely has a lot of attitude, and some, he hams it up a fair bit, you know what I mean? It's not just like the whole sort of sweet, like Don Dokken style vocals, or that sort of thing. Put my hyper record away. Anyway, I figured, what the hell, I'll roll the dice on this one, because I wanted to hear it, because I want to hear anything Russian. And I'm kind of fascinated by the whole idea of Russian glam. I mean, that just sounds like 2 things that don't fit together at all, So yeah. And again, this isn't like total glam, you know what I mean? But I think this is as glam as like the Leather Nun record is, say. Or again, another touch point would be the early Crew stuff again, where it's maybe sort of glammy in intent, maybe in spirit to a certain degree. I mean, it's fucking cold in St. Petersburg, by the way, but it definitely has kind of a swaggery riff, and that guitar sound, that sort of squealing on the guitar, definitely goes a lot to Eddie Van Halen. See what I mean about that singing style, though? But the thing is, this rocks. I mean, listen to it. It only gets better. So yeah, this is Joker. They don't help you much with the song titles on this one either. Yeah, it's another one where it says Grupa Joker. I always think it's funny when people, like in the bands where they put that group in front of the band name, like in the Russian records or like on a lot of South American records. I mean, you see it on like English lists, and there's file letter G, like Grupo Ciruela or Grupo La Vida or something like that. It's like, no, they're just called Ciruela. That just means they were a band. Same deal here, What's up? Is that fucking slide guitar in there? Yeah, this record just goes into all these sorts of places that I wouldn't expect Russians to be going, man. And like their take on it is just awesome. I'm gonna bump it ahead, but I want to let it run for a minute so you can take a little of this in. And I'll take that moment to talk about this record because I'll tell you something. I just got this one recently too. And I've had Head On for a lot of years by Samson. But and I thought it was good, but not like great. I never felt like, oh my god, I need to run out and get Shock Tactics now because on the strength of this one, But I was listening to a lot of that Nuwabum shit anyway, and kind of in the mood. And I like Bruce Dickinson anyway, so I was like, oh, what the hell, I have one of the ones without him. I think it's Survivors. And I think that one's pretty mediocre, but Head On was good. I was like, if this is going to be as good as Head On, it'll be fun, you know, it'll scratch the itch a little bit when I'm hanging out, playing Isaac or doing whatever, you know. Yeah, this record really smokes, though, man. I think I like this one more than Head On, you know. Riding with the Angels I recognize from a comp, but like Go to Hell rocks, Bloodlust, there's all sorts of shit on here. It's a recent reissue, and it has that thing in there, so, but the back is pretty plain anyway. But yeah, if you're curious about Samson, this one's probably easier to find than Head On, too. I may have to take that back at some point, but I've noticed more copies of this around than Head On, and I don't know. I almost wish I checked it out sooner. On the other hand, I never mind that I held something back for myself for later, because this was a really pleasant surprise. This record, I enjoyed that a lot more than I expected to. Alright, so I was looking at some of the cheesy ones, right? So I pulled this one out again to give it another chance. This is the Flynn record. I actually got this at a shop in Long Beach last time I was in Southern California. Just hanging out, doing shit, visiting. And that's a pretty decent stomp, right? With like the stomp combined with the swagger. And the Russian vocals just seem like... Where the fuck did these guys come from? Anyway, this record pretty much sucks. I couldn't even make it all the way through. I just listened to one side and had to take it off because I was just like, what the fuck, man? And what the fuck is happening with my lights here, too? There we go. Brightened up a little bit there. I turned all orange all of a sudden in the thing. Yeah, anyway, this Flynn record is pretty fucking bad, man. I mean... I think this guy probably represents the band best right there with that look. He's got the glam pants on, but it's just not right. No, it's not even that it's glam, it's just that it's fucking saccharine. It's not that glammy, it's probably more like, it's not very heavy, it's probably more like a hard rock type of thing with like a little bit of metal as far as where they thought they were going with it, but it's just lame, man. The songs are bad, there's way too much keyboard. It's saccharine as fuck, and yeah, I don't recommend that Flynn record at all. It's fucking bad, dude. And it's rare, too, so if you're thinking about spending some money on it, be warned. I didn't spend money on it. Alright, check this out. So you see how this kind of rocks this far, right? And that's sort of the tempo, but check out this fucking song. This is the last one on side one. What are they doing here? Going to this fucking speed metal thing. I was like, am I hearing this right? Voruyut, I guess it's called. Or Voruyut. I don't know where you put the accent. Like, they get this fucking speedy and heavy out of nowhere after doing that swaggery shit, right? And they do it really well, right? Like, those weird sort of breaks in the chorus don't really sound like the right speed metal idioms or something as far as what they're going for. But they're not lacking in the heaviness, man, and they don't sound like they're half committed. They sound like they're all in with this shit, you know. It's fucking great, man. And then check this out. I'm gonna play the worst song on the record, or a little part of it, because this is just sort of like completes the package. If I can remember which song it is. Yeah, this one really doesn't help you much with the song titles. Yeah, this is it. This is the last song of the album. This is Navoyu Pampasi. Okay. fuck are they doing? I love the vocals, to be honest. You hear what I'm saying, though? Who do they think they are? The Stones or something? This... What are they doing even playing this shit? They're Russian, you know? I love this kind of cross-cultural dissemination, though, of an idiom, you know what I mean? I mean, just the fact that British bands are what come to mind first, I think of people copying this really American sound, you know? Pulled this one out. A lot of people love this record. I never have loved it. But I think I'm starting to get what the big deal is. It took me a few listens, man, but I'm really starting to like the songs on this. And, you know, some of them I think where the songs are just good. They just take a little while to sink in, you know what I mean? It's a great cover. You can imagine why I wanted to like it. The band's called Adrian, which is a terrible name, but I mean, look at that shit. These guys are from Duisburg. So, like, the German Midwest, basically. The German Rust Belt. Yeah, I think this is 87 or 88. And this is not an original. This is a reissue on Eat Metal Records. They didn't do a lot, but I think you can still get them. Very cool record. I don't know that I just said anything very useful about it, but I just like the songs on this thing, you know? What the fuck? We've really kind of run the gamut on this record. And, oh, I don't know, what else have I pulled out here lately? As far as an old favorite that got like 2 or 3 listens, this Cloven Hoof LP. Fucking classic. Just a great record. The songwriting is awesome. Sort of goes through a variety of styles on the album without losing their identity. This time the song that was sort of in my head that led me to pull it out was Laying Down the Law. Usually it's Cloven Hoof or Night Stalker. This time it was those. The Gates of Gehenna got reused from the first EP, which is also great. It's on the shelf, so I can't show it right now. But this one's easier to find, and it's awesome. I think there are reissues that's kicking around too. I think Back in Black did it. There might have been another one too. And like it says here, seek not to invoke demonic entities beyond the living, unseen forces mankind can never hope to understand, and satanic pact the soul giving unto hell when time relents to death's command. Doesn't quite sound like it was written by a native English speaker there, but that's what it tells us. So with those words of wisdom and a little bit of swagger from Joker, I think we're going to end it there. So thanks for watching. I don't expect a whole lot of videos about Russian glam, because there's not a whole lot. Until next time.